Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Reed, and welcome to Storytime. Today we're going to be reading some malicious compliance stories, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Get told to clean up my mess? Absolutely. Just make sure to clean up yours. So, last year I worked in a corporate cell phone/carrier store. It was basically my personal heck, because I like to help people and take care of customers, and I don't like to intentionally screw people over with bad products. Background. This particular week, I had a regular customer come in every month like clockwork. Because when I started at the store, he came in and asked me to set him up for a service I advised him against. Long story short, he's about 1,000 years old and tried to sign up for a notoriously difficult to cancel streaming service we provided. When we went to cancel it, he promptly forgot all the info we used to set up the account and got charged for it for like half a year. Anyways, I was in the back office asking my manager what I could do for him. I felt bad for the guy. He's ancient. And while he insisted on getting that service set up despite my protest, he didn't deserve to get charged for something he couldn't use for half a year. My manager, who didn't like to do anything positive for anyone unless there was a sell in it, told me, "It's your mess, Baileythenerd. His account got screwed up on your watch. Now you fix it." Now, I have a very strong work ethic. I clean up my own messes, I fix my own problems, and I detest having to ask for help. So, this comment definitely set me on edge, knowing that my manager had whatever the opposite of work ethic is. Several hours later, my grumpy customer had left, coming to the same conclusion we had over the last couple of months. My company had stolen basically $200 from him, and nobody with any power was willing to give it back. I was idling on the sales floor, stewing over my manager's comments when a sweet little old lady comes in. I ask her why she's in there, and she's surprised by a recurring bill she's gotten for the last 2 months for that same streaming service. I've worked with this particular little old lady before. She had her 80th birthday in the Devonian period. The closest thing she owned to a smartphone was her Nokia 3310. There's no reason this woman should ever have had this service. That's when I find out that my manager and another employee railroaded yada 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 and otherwise just tricked this poor woman into getting this service. I know them. She had been in there to pay her bill. They told her they were going to reduce it, gave her some insignificant discount on her phone bill, and had her sign all the stuff to get on the crap service. I was furious. I already hated that I was expected to screw people over for a nice commission, but this was outright fraud. So I went back to my manager's office to tell her, "Hey, there's a customer here about having gotten signed up for blah 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 TV now, despite the fact that it's not even a service she could use since she doesn't even have a computer or smartphone." Can you tell her she can go to X website to cancel it?" I mean, I would, but she has no way to even get to the website, and she doesn't have an email to even sign up for the service in the first place, which is really odd. "Well, you could go help her cancel it." "I'm sorry, I'm still cleaning up that mess with my other customer. You know, she did mention that it was you and coworker that helped her before this started up." "Could you get coworker to—" "He's not scheduled to work today. You could help her, or if you're too busy, I could give her regional manager's phone number." Note, we had lost our district manager at the time because of a lot of fraud on his account. Regional manager was basically acting as our DM and did not like having to deal with any issue made by a store manager. "I guess I could go out and help her." "Yeah, I guess you could. Don't ever do this again." She ended up helping this customer. She was stuck for the whole day trying to fix her screw-up, and then she had to work with that same little old lady month after month because that service was a nightmare even for us to cancel. It could only be canceled through a web chat, and you needed every detail about the account to kill it, including the bullcrap email my manager made up and forgot to make the account in the first place. Sorry there's no great comeuppance like her getting fired. She still works at the store, I think, but the entire time I worked there, I successfully policed her most unscrupulous sales practices and kept her from doing this again. OP out here doing the Lord's work for all the little old ladies and gentlemen. That's what we need, a savior out there to protect the sweet old people. All right, stop. Hammer time. So not sure if this belongs here because the threat of malicious compliance mitigated me having to maliciously comply. I had just started my new retail job a week previous. It was a miserable week. Bad customers had put me in a bad mood, and the whole day it was pouring down rain. I had to grab something from my, new to me, car and ran back inside, which is when I realized that I had locked my keys in my car. So I wait till the end of my shift and try everything I can think of to pry my car open and get into my keys. Eventually, after failing every attempt, I call the local locksmith. 20 minutes later, a large van rolls up and the locksmith hops out. This guy looks at my keys, sitting plainly on my seat, goes, "Oh yeah, that really sucks, man. Real shame." My ears perk up at the sound of very obviously false sympathy, knowing that this guy calculating how much he can shake me down for based off the situation. "Yeah, man, that's going to be about $200 for me to grab those keys for you." This man is very well aware that the next locksmiths are located another 45 minutes away. He knows I'm miserable standing in this rain, and he means to take me for everything I'm worth. Unfortunately for him, I am a poor college student with a very bad attitude at the moment. "Sorry, dude, I can't swing that right now. That's all I got to my name, and I mean to eat this week." "Well, unless you plan on smashing your way in there, you're screwed." Ah, man, he sure got me. No way around it. No way I'd be willing to break this car that's brand new to me just to get my dang keys. Psych! Good point, actually. There's a Home Depot right over there, and hammers are only like $5. What? You're not really going to break your window, are you? I'm not paying $200. I'll figure out how to fix my window later. Okay, I'll bring it down to $150. I keep walking towards Home Depot. Come on, man, it's not worth busting your window over. This man's earlier confidence is replaced with a sudden realization he's going to go from making sweet money off of me to making nothing and watch me break something out of anger. Look, man, I can swing $50. Can you do 100? Call it 75 and we have a deal. Defeatedly. Fine, but don't tell my boss I'm doing this for you. Dude, your name is on the van. 30 seconds later, he uses a pump to pry open my door, enough to grab my keys with a coat hanger. Nothing worth $200. Dang, the locksmith was really giving OP the shakedown, the rundown, the whole 9 yards. Well, good on OP for that attitude. Customer doesn't like bag fees. I used to be a cashier at a grocery store, and all stores in our area charged 5 cents for a bag except for us. It had been like this for years, and then our store decided to start charging for bags too. We were also about the only store that bagged the groceries as well, instead of just leaving them on the counter for the customer to deal with. Needless to say, customers were outraged, and we heard no end of complaints about it, along with threats to shop elsewhere, even though every other store had been charging for bags for years. Many customers decided they didn't need a bag and ended up carrying a bunch of items loose in their arms, dropping things along the way to the parking lot. One day, I was ringing through a large order with price matches, and a couple of old guys get in line behind my customer. They could have gone to Express, really too many items, but not that much, and our store would send people with comparable size orders there anyway to keep the lines moving, but they would have to walk an extra 40 feet to get there. They immediately start chatting loudly to each other about how long I was taking, how slow I was, and they should have gone to another line, even though I had suggested the Express and they declined. It got to a point that when my current customer was done, she turned and told them they were being rude and that I was one of the faster cashiers since I didn't have to look up codes and was also good at packing. It was really nice of her to do that, and I thanked her. As I reached for the first item, I asked the old guys if they wanted to buy bags and got the whole, "I already paid for groceries, the bag should be included," which I took as a no. They didn't want bags. So I started scanning and leaving the items for the customers to deal with. Then they got upset because I wasn't bagging. Old guy decides he will take a bag after all, but only one bag, and I'd better make sure it all fit because he wasn't buying 2 bags. I'm really good at packing, like really, really good at it. He had a mixture of cans, boxes, and glass jars, plus some fruit, and I crammed every last item into that one bag. Nothing was crushed, so he couldn't complain about bruised fruit. The bag had to weigh 25 pounds and was so full that the handles barely reached each other. He saw what I was doing and started to bluster about how he could buy a second bag, and I looked at him and said that he seemed to feel very strongly about using less plastic, so I was just doing what he had requested. I offered to charge him for a second bag, but he would have to repack his groceries at an empty checkout since the lines had gotten pretty long, and I didn't want to have this groceries mixed in with the next person's groceries, and I was trying to go faster to help more people. He decided to just take his bag and leave, but he had to carry it awkwardly since the handles didn't meet and he was trying to keep a hand underneath to support it. The person behind him was a regular who had seen the whole thing and was trying hard to not laugh until he left. She was great, and we had a good chuckle about how well I could pack a bag full of far more than it should hold, and I didn't charge her or the first lady for their bags. See, you act nice, you become known, and you don't have to pay for bags. That's how you're supposed to do it, but men suck. They just don't understand anything and they're rude. I hate them. Wait, I hate myself? Yes, it's true. Teaching a kid why he should not annoy retail workers. Not as grand as your usual malicious compliance stories, but I still think about it every now and then as it makes me feel smug inside. This happened about a year or two ago when I was still studying engineering. Decided physics was more my style. I used to work in retail earning money on the side during my studies. It was a pop-up place in the middle of a mall, where we sold expensive premium alcohols and vodkas, with custom-shaped bottles. It was a fancy establishment. It was fun to work at as we could put our own designs on bottles to make them arty. One of the things we also allowed was tastes. Up to around 3 or 4 samples, this becomes quite important. Usually, customers would say that they wanted to taste because, of course, why not? One day, a group of teens who acted and looked more like preteens came up to us making all the witty remarks that lacked wit that only kids could come up with. They asked to have a sample, but none of them were either legal or had ID. Continuing to try to get me to make them a quick sample, when I wouldn't budge, they left and grabbed a friend who was legal. With his friends snickering, I inform the kids he can have a sample and says, "I'll take anything." Cue malicious compliance. I grab a sample cup and escort them to the side that had the liquors. Now we had coconut rum liquor, absinthe, and such, but we had one particular liquor that was designed for cocktails. Curacao. It was a deep blue, almost sapphire color. Looked beautiful in bottles. I poured the kid a nice sized sample of it. Now, anyone who has tasted Curacao can tell you how aggressive and bitter and citrusy the flavor is. The kid shoots it back and recoils at the sudden taste, and I'm pretty sure his friends finally catch a whiff of the smell. He hands the sample glass back to me and they walk away quietly. And if I'm honest, moments like this are why I actually miss retail. These kids were really hyped up about something, but then walked away all quiet like it was a bummer and a letdown. That's what they deserve. Ordering shots after last call. In the early 2000s, I bartended at a live music venue. Sometimes the bands would play a little longer and people on the dance floor would miss last call. They would beg for one last drink, but not worth losing a liquor license over. Trust me. One time, this younger woman wanted to buy a shot for her new friend. She begged as I was cleaning up and I kept telling her, no. She then drops $20 on the bar and says, 2 shots of anything, your choice, keep the change. So I relent. I say, fine. I snag the $20 and go grab the shaker. I then whip up a Shirley Temple, extra grenadine, put it into 2 shot glasses and serve it up. They chug them down, thank me, praise how they were the tastiest shots they had, and walked away satisfied. Everyone walked away happy, but they did just pay $20 for 2 ounces of Sprite. I put the $20 in the tip jar and split it with my coworkers. OP is an honorable person because I would have took that $20 and it would have been tipped to myself. Anyways, that's all the stories we have for today. If you liked what you heard, make sure you subscribe because we're coming out with this kind of content daily. In the meantime, have the most amazing day.